Let's hear it for Thursday. So some quick announcements. I won't take up much of Mel's time. Poetry Slam was awesome. And I don't know, we blew it out of the water. We totally blew it out of the water. We have a thank you note for the members of Speak Out from the Business and Professional Communications class. I'd like to read to you guys. It says on the front, very in spirit of the Poetry Slam, each small kindness, like a seed, grows tall in memory. And I think we planted some seeds in those kids' heads about maybe going to college and not being afraid of this place. So it says, thank you to all the members of Speak Out who helped to make the Poetry Slam for the third graders at Stephen Elementary possible. You all made a positive difference in the lives of these kids. Every raffle ticket sold, every minute spent putting up decorations and inflating balloons and cheering on the third graders made the Poetry Slam a wonderful event for these kids. Always remember, you all made a positive difference for the kids. Thank you. So let's hear it for Speak Out. Stuff on the back. Next week, our sister club, SAL, the Student Awareness League, they're hosting a women's conference. It's going to be in this complex right here, and they have 2 keynote presentations that sound pretty interesting. I hope to see you all there. I'll be there. And if you didn't know, you can register for classes today if you have more than 40 credits, which I'm sure most of you do. Coming up, our other sister clubs, Phi Beta Kappa and the National Society of Leadership and Success, they're putting on their first ever conference, and it's going to be on leadership, and that's March 15th, which is right before finals week. So if you need to take a break from all your studying and all that stuff and just get your mind off of school, that would be the place to be. It's going to be all day. The next meeting, it's going to be our last meeting of the quarter, and as a celebration of the end of the quarter, we're going to have a game day and a potluck like we did last quarter. So bring some food, bring a smile, and we'll have some games, and we're going to party without alcohol, unfortunately. We'll do our best. Next up, you guys notice some candy in front of you. I'd like you all to pick out your favorite piece of candy. It's part of an activity that we're going to do. So get your favorite candy. If you have more than one kind of your favorite candy, take as much as you'd like. If there's more than one of your favorite candy in there, scoop it all up.
I'm just kidding.
Did everybody find at least a piece of their favorite kind of candy in there? Yes? Was there anybody that didn't find any candy?
No pepper candy.
Okay. Now, with everybody at your table, you're going to share as many things about yourself as the pieces of candy that you took. So if you took 4 pieces of candy, share 4 things about yourself with your table, and make friends, smile, and if they don't know what your name is, tell them what your name is.
We already know
Jordy money is. I drive a
Well, you know my name. But something you don't know about
What's your favorite food?
was my first little job.
Right to it in your shirt. You have 3. That's what it's Okay.
I do too, actually. No, I want to get out.
I've said that before.
I like Spokane.
I want army bread. Technically, I can't say that they said it might not. So we'll see. I applied for it.
Yeah, the candies are for you guys.
I just encourage like, oh, if I stop going yeah, so I'm not going to do that yet. So if I graduated,
You're allowed to have 3 major switches. Not as it's major that you're switching, but as major you're going for academic constitution.
wow, they really let you switch it up. My laser activity.
Yeah.
Just like normal when you have a group, it just smells like water.
Just a heads up. On the side, it still counts.
I'm pretty sure I
Took one more.
Well, yeah, that's what I meant. Not here learning chemistry. Definitely not sure. I just didn't know that see, the
Yeah,
thing being,
I
don't really notice going on. I know much. When I can tell it's growing.
okay, that's not about me. I only have 3 pieces of candy.
It wasn't the last one. Just one of your shit. So I'm done. That's the. I really liked it. Except I didn't have the food, which was really bad. So, did you ever find two appearances?
Different size.
You just put up the maybe a tattoo.
If you are, yeah.
If you're a criminal, you just get to be a criminal. It was okay. But they came to me, why didn't you call us?
He doesn't make it. She can't get a job. Very well.
Join the club.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah,
The guy is just a criminal. He's getting arrested. But the woman who's the story and just said like he had a picture of her.
And I will continue your caveat because I knew there was that
But you never find yourself in the life why is it why should we hold that face tattoo?
Sorry. Oh, yeah.
I bet he's real happy about that shit.
It's totally different. See my sister.
Still only can play the one competition.
I have the negative. And what else do I say?
There's going to be a name game at the end of the meeting, so learn the names of everybody at your table. Name game. You can see at the end. Memorize the names.
My goal was to learn everybody's name. That's why
Hey, once I hit like 25, I stopped dating it. Now I like. There was only one time back there. Yeah. I think you might be one of those things that just
All right, so who learned something new about somebody else today? Who had fun? Yeah, that's good. I have one more announcement in addition to all these announcements. If you haven't taken the survey on Canvas yet, I invite you to please give us your opinion. It is on, there's one question, and what do you want to see next year? Because we're in the planning stages right now, next year, next quarter. We're in the planning stages right now, and we're planning out all those meetings, and there's lots of time that goes into that, so we're getting started on it right now. So we need your input by next Thursday when we have our next leadership meeting. Thank you. Mel, it's all you. Here, for the video.
Oh, really?
But it's up.
Oh, okay.
It's on the stage there.
So hey guys, thanks for coming. So thank you for coming to my presentation called Nailing the Interview, differentiating yourself in a sea of candidates. Prior to starting at SEC, I was a customer service manager at Travelers Insurance downtown. And contrary to belief, we don't sell travelers insurance. It's actually auto and home and all of that. But one of the key functions of my job was the recruiting and interviewing of, over the course of 4 years, hundreds of applicants. And through this process, I learned a great deal about what is and isn't effective in impressing a potential employer. So I thought I'd pass that along to you. This presentation is not intended to be your typical boilerplate interview suggestions, like dress nice, come early, strong handshake, good eye contact. It's all very true and sound advice. But all of you either know that already or you could Google that pretty easily. The purpose of this presentation is to kind of take you beyond the characteristics of what everyone else can just Google for themselves. Because what is going to get you the job is differentiating yourself among all of the other candidates. So with that, I want to pass along some insight on a few higher level concepts I truly believe will help make you stand out. I'm also going to sprinkle in some personal examples to give you an idea of what that might sound like, and also maybe it'll help you think of examples that will help fit your personal situation. But to start, I'd like to show a couple, or just a quick couple-minute video on what I think portrays the perfect interview.
Dad, I need to borrow some clothes for the interview, so I don't have any fancy clothes.
You go to my closet, you take whatever you need. You and Brennan, you guys got to look sharp.
Can you guys hear it okay? I'm not sure where that.
It's in the upper right. Try next to the play button.
Important day of our lives, okay?
Okay, Dad.
Well, Brennan, you certainly have a lot of jobs.
I'm a bit of a spark
Volume on the screen.
human resources.
Sorry, actually.
No, it's
On the, right by the play button.
Oh, gotcha, sorry. I'm good with technology.
Okay, Dad.
Well, Brennan, you certainly have a lot of jobs.
I'm a bit of a spark plug and human resources lady.
Oh, no, it's actually, it's Pam.
I'm sorry. Well, Pan.
No, my name is Pam.
Are you saying Pan or Pam?
I'm saying Pam. Yeah, I'm sorry, who's this gentleman sitting behind you?
Hello, Ms. Lady. I'm Brendan's stepbrother, and I think I might be able to help with the Pam dilemma.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Pam.
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 Pan.
With an
There's a
M.
D on the end.
There's no D. Pam.
It's like calm.
P?
P-A-N-M.
M.
And
Two M's.
M.
That was the
No,
confusion.
there's just one M. I think it's
Shut up for 1 second. Shut your mouth.
I need someone.
Wait, shut your mouth. Shut your mouth.
I'm sorry, what did
You're
you
just
just
coming
say?
off stupid.
I'm coming off as stupid. You're wearing tuxedos to a job that requires you to clean bathrooms.
Do we get any sort of souvenir?
Get out of my office!
Okay, so I think we can all agree to buy Step Brothers. You have that already. Get a little plug in there. But I think we can all agree that that is not a good example of what you should do on an interview. But it's probably one of my favorite movie scenes of all time. Every time I see it, it cracks me up. So I wanted to sneak it in there. So best interview ever. Okay, so the first concept I want to discuss is demonstrating a balance of confidence and humility. So what do I mean by that? All too often in my interviews, I would see opposite ends of the spectrum. It was either someone was selling themselves short or highlighting their lack of experience in that particular field, or just downright self-deprecation, which I am a culprit of myself. Or someone coming across as extremely arrogant, like they have the job in the bag, and that's just a major turnoff. So how do you balance this confidence and humility? First of all, we're all in college together, we're learning a new skill, so most likely the next position that you interview for is going to be a job where you probably don't have a lot of experience in that particular field. And that's okay, we're all in the same boat together. So this is the first key that I want to stress for you. You don't have to be confident in your current skills, but at the very least, You must portray that you are confident in your ability to quickly adapt to new information and unforeseen changes in job duties. I'm going to give you a personal example. I came to the insurance position with absolutely no insurance background, no office background. But I knew that I was smart and I was a quick study. So rather than focusing on my lack of experience, I focused on that strength that I had. In addition, you will want to give an example of how you have done this successfully, whether that be in school or even in a prior job. It doesn't have to be the exact type of job. That's the same situation, as long as you can show that you picked up something new very quickly. Something to keep in mind, and I just learned this the other day, but I think it's really good with that positive self-talk, and maybe can get you kind of fired up when you're feeling a little low about your skill level. But hard work beats talent when talent fails to work hard, and I truly, truly believe that. There are tons of people out there who are so talented and have probably a lot more experience than you, a lot more skill than you, but they'll squander it. But if you show up and you work hard, that will trump talent every time. So with that, it is imperative to steer clear of speaking negatively to jobs where you had to start learning things that weren't in your job description. Guess what? Job descriptions change. They're fluid, but they're great opportunities for growth and development. Change is good, but you never want to give the impression that you are averse to change. And speaking to how you weren't very much of a fan of having to learn things that weren't in your job description is a major turnoff. So now the second key is avoiding the presumption that you have no flaws whatsoever. That's where that humility piece comes in. So I have a secret. Good companies, the kind of companies that you want to work for, they actually see the value in people who can admit their mistakes, but then follow that up with giving clear and precise examples of how they learned from those mistakes. What they want to hear is what I could have done differently, for example. What they don't want to hear is not taking ownership of your mistakes, for example, making excuses or blaming exterior factors. If you had a bad boss before, that's not that employer's problem. It's still your opportunity to rise above that. If you had bad tools to work with, that's okay. You need to show that you can still rise above that and take ownership of wherever you may have fallen short. Another example is just claiming to not have made any mistakes. I've had people come in and actually say that, thinking that, well, if I show that I'm perfect, that's really good, and it's not. And lastly, simply stating that you wouldn't have done anything differently. I actually had a girl describe a situation, a difficult challenge for her, and I asked her, well, what would you have done differently? She said, nothing. I would have done everything the same. And I was like, I think it's different. I mean, I thought this. I didn't say that out loud, but she could have done something differently. So that just showed to me that she didn't learn anything from that. So candidates who strike this balance of confidence and humility are drastically more desirable to a potential employer. All right. So this one's my favorite. I am so a team player. I hear that a lot, very frequently in interviews. The problem is I would rarely hear evidence to back this up. I would hear a lot about the candidate's accomplishments, but with little to no credit being given to individuals who might have helped them get to where they are today. Employers want to be convinced that you place a value in fostering positive relationships in the workplace, whether that be with your peers or your bosses or even informal mentors. So, what have you learned from a prior boss? What have you even learned from one of your teachers? I know a lot of us could speak about legend. What or how did you leverage your strengths and weaknesses with that of your peers? When I first started, my strength was social skills, but where I lacked was technical skills. And there were a lot of individuals on my team who was flip-flop with that. So you better believe that I leveraged that so that I could gain and have both of those skills. So when you go home today, I want you to think of the people who helped you get to where you are now so that you can emphatically speak to this at your next interview. So I'm going to give you some personal examples. I have been extremely lucky to have not one, but two very influential mentors in my career at Travelers. One who took notice of me and then coached and developed me into earning my promotion as a manager. And then the next one, I was lucky enough to actually take it from there and coached and developed me into being an effective manager. And I wouldn't be here where I am today without them. I owe them everything. And so in the next interview that I have, I would definitely want to speak to that. It's very important to have fostered that kind of mentorship relationship. Another example is, and this one's my favorite, I just love my coworkers. So if you love them, you should talk about that. I get along with every single one of them, and I've learned so much from them. And I attribute a lot of that to the daily effort that I put into cultivating a meaningful and positive relationship with every single one of them. If you are that person too, then you should speak to that. If you're not, then you should be that person so that you can speak to it. And if you're not that person, it's not too late to start over, and you can start implementing some practices today to help you cultivate those meaningful relationships with your coworkers. And if you need any advice on how to do that, I'd be happy to give you some, because it's probably one of my favorite things to talk about. So if you have time later, anyone ask me about it, got a whole bunch of things. I just adore my coworkers. Okay, so feedback and coachability. And coachability, I swear that's a word. Microsoft does not think so. Keeps giving me the red squiggly lines, but I don't care. It's a word in my opinion. So chances are the person who is interviewing you will likely be your boss if you actually get to be hired. And speaking from experience, a boss wants nothing more in an employee than someone who not only craves feedback, but thrives on it. And the thing is, feedback is a tough subject. It can be hard to accept. It can feel like an attack on our character or even an indirect form of rejection. So it's easy to focus on the negative side of feedback. But that isn't what the employers want to hear. They want to hear about how you are very receptive to feedback. So what I learned is, once you change your outlook on feedback, it will be so much easier to accept it, even from someone whose delivery could use some polishing. So the first key that I like to stress is always, always assume positive intent from the person who's giving you feedback. Even if it's not the actual case, in every situation where you are receiving feedback, assume that their heart is in the right place and that they're providing it because they just want to make you better. If they didn't care, they probably wouldn't even tell you anything. They'd let you go along your way and doing the wrong thing, and you have to figure it out on your own. So, if the person isn't delivering the feedback in the most positive way, I think we've all been in that situation before, maybe they could use a lesson in communication. What you want to do is separate the content of what is being said from the person who's actually giving it. Focus on the true heart of what they're trying to say rather than how it's being said, because a lot of that can get lost in translation when maybe they have some emotions or they just really don't know how to articulate it in the best way. So you kind of have to separate the two and just really kind of take it from their perspective as what they're trying to get at. Most importantly, if you don't agree with the feedback wholeheartedly, just know that there might be at least a sliver of something in there that you can truly learn from. Which leads me to my next point. Process before reacting. So what do you do if you don't agree with the feedback that's being given to you? I want you to avoid the temptation to immediately defend yourself or react emotionally to it. Take it in and digest it later when you can process it in a less vulnerable place. You can feel really vulnerable when you're one-on-one with someone and they're giving you feedback. So maybe wait until it's later on in the day and you can really noodle it over. Once you give it some more thought, chances are you will be able to understand where they are coming from and be more open-minded to the suggestions. And this happened to me early on in my career. I remember sitting down with my boss and he was giving me feedback and I was just thinking to myself the entire time, you're wrong, I don't do that, that's not me, not at all. But I didn't react to it, and then I went home later that day and I was thinking about it and I was processing it, and then all of a sudden I was like, oh no, yeah, he was right. Dang it, yeah, he was right. So I'm so glad that I didn't react to it emotionally and I gave myself the opportunity to think about it more and really put myself in their shoes so I could figure out what they were trying to get at. So, if you can approach your current feedback and coaching sessions in this manner, and therefore be able to speak to it at your next interview, you will have succeeded in impressing the interviewer and differentiating yourself. I love this meme. I don't know why. So, I bet all of you are reliable and positive, hardworking, and a people person, right? Well, according to every person I've ever interviewed, so are they. So the fact of the matter is, anyone can and will say in an interview that they possess these qualities. So what is going to differentiate you from the rest of them? And that's going to be providing clear, specific examples of how you demonstrate these qualities. So I'll give you an example. If you're going to say that you're reliable, you'll want to back it up with very clear evidence. What measures do you have in place that cause you to be reliable? So for example, do you leave early to account for traffic issues? If your car breaks down, are you on a bus line? If your kids get sick, do you have a backup plan with a babysitter? This is what employers are going to want to hear, instead of just saying, I'm so reliable, I promise. That tends to not be the case in a lot of situations. I work downtown, so almost everyone takes the bus down there. And I had one girl tell me that she always takes the bus that leaves earlier than the bus that would bring her downtown on time. And the reason, her logic for that was that way, if something happened, if she happened to miss it, or if the bus came late, she was here. She wasn't going to be late in any circumstance. And if she was early, it's no big deal. She could have time to go grab a Starbucks, and she was on her way. And when she told me that, that just really, really impressed me. That really demonstrated that, yeah, she was going to be a reliable person. So, with that in mind, we're now going to do a quick little activity. So I want all of you to first think about a quality that you possess that you are super proud of. And this can be anything. For the sake of this exercise, it doesn't even have to be a professional quality. It can be reliable or hardworking or whatever. But for the next minute or two, I want you to think about and start brainstorming, why do you think that you have this quality? What do you do that perpetuates this quality? And then I'm going to have you partner up with a dyad partner and start talking about it. But before you do that, I'm going to give you a couple minutes to start brainstorming. So get out a piece of paper, start jotting down, do some brain dumping, or think about it. I'll give you a couple minutes.
Never late to class. Always on time. I'm here on campus at 8:10. I just wait in my car. The other should get 20, and then I walk to the class. So that way, if there's a train, if there's ever the train you're not going across, I have enough time, to make it to class.
Great listener, half an hour.
So when you get with your diet partner, guys, it doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have to pretend like you're in an actual interview. The purpose of this is kind of like more of a verbal brain dump. So you know when you're trying to write that 8-page essay or whatever, so you just start writing down all of your ideas and eventually start coming to some epiphanies. It's going to be kind of like that. Just start talking with your partner. Well, I do this, I do this. You'd be surprised with, once you talk it out, the more revelations that you come to. So for the next couple minutes, go ahead and get with your partner and just start talking it out and share it with them. And then we'll circle back and do this. Yeah, you can try it. I heard you.
just basically disturbance.
Anyway, just go ahead.